joining us today here on America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker, Scott Kirshner, and myself. My name is Chris Vaughn. Really do appreciate you taking time out of your weekend to join us. Here's how you reach out, 419-794-3030. Once again, that's 419-794-3030, online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. On today's show, the end of the year is coming up really fast. We're going to tell you what should be on that fourth quarter financial checklist. But first, let me check in. Nolan and Scott, both back together. It's been a little while. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, it has been a while. I'm glad to be back. I'm doing well.
I'm doing great. Kind of a sad week for me. This Friday, I take the boat in to get winterized, so pulled it out last week, and the times are changing, so it goes really well with our show last week of building an all-weather portfolio.
That's right.
All right.
Well, we had some great trips on the sneaking out early Friday with the boss is always a good thing. So it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Good old Maumee River. Nothing better than cruising around and our boat, having a great time down there. But we're doing good. How about you, Chris?
I'm doing really well. And if people missed last week's show or any previous show, it's a good time to mention previous editions of the show available via podcast, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever your medium is. Just search for America's Retirement Headquarters, YouTube as well. We're right there for you. But let's go ahead and get this one started. Historically, October, here we are, similar to September, in that it tends to be a volatile month for the stock market, and we've certainly seen recent evidence of that. But Jason Katz of USB tells Stuart Varney on Fox Business, don't panic just yet.
Normally get over a 10% correction every year. We haven't had it in a year and a half. So there are preconditions for a bumpy ride. There are some yellow flashing lights here, but what there aren't, Stuart, are warning sirens going off.
So this is, you guys have been doing this for decades now. Is this the time of year that you have to calm some clients down about the markets? And if so, what do you typically tell them?
Well, I would say volatility is really nothing new. I think, the last year, a lot of us have gotten comfortable in the fact that for quite some time now with the government stimulus, the market has just pretty much gone straight up for a while. So it hasn't really been until September started that we started to see some volatility. And it's also very common if we look at things historically that October can be somewhat of a volatile month. It fits, I think, really well with some of the topics that we're going to be talking about at our upcoming summit that we do October 12th over at the Hilton Garden Inns. And, during that event, we'll talk about don't be scared of the stock market. So we'll talk about, some of the things that you see about volatility. It is very normal. We did see some volatility pick up. Of course, we saw in the market this week with Wednesday with the market having a big pullback. The previous week on Monday, the market had a big pullback. But, even using short-term last week as an example, on Monday the market had a fairly big pullback. But throughout the rest of the week, the market had a pretty strong week. So short-term, the market becomes a little bit more unpredictable. It tends to be more of a 50-50 coin toss whether the market's going to go up or down. But if you look at things over a 1 year or 3 year or 5 year basis, the longer you have time on your side for your equities, the less the day-to-day volatility of the stock market should worry you. It just, really can be noise. So don't worry too much about it. And know that volatility actually creates opportunities. If you have money that's kind of sitting on the sidelines, going along with the Halloween theme of what I call dead money, there can be an opportunity to put some of that money to work when you have some of the volatility in the market picks up and has some pullbacks. So short term, don't worry too much about it. The probability of returns over a longer time frame, if you look at some of the charts, can show that odds become a lot more in your favor. I think if we look at it also, I would say that, we as a firm, we continue to be optimistic about the equity markets. If you look at, some of the financials, fundamentals, some of the earnings reports, I think there's reasons that, you can continue to be optimistic about equities. We still really continue to maintain a cautious outlook about companies that are sensitive to credit. Also we are cautious about the interest rate risk that is faced in bonds with rising interest rates. Be careful about companies that maybe have poor credit if we have another economic downturn. This could be a good opportunity, though. I mean, if you look at the markets and you've had a big run-up, for anybody at any age, it's always a good idea to have 6 months' worth of living expenses set aside for an emergency. So if your emergency account has been drained down a little bit because of the things that have happened in the last year or two, now if you've had some good gains overall, might be a good time to fill up that bucket. We have the philosophy within our independent income system for those folks that are, say, within 5 years of retirement time or in the first 5 years of the retirement time, money that they're going to need in the next not only 6 months, but money that they're going to need over the next 1 to 5 years. You maybe really want to consider other alternatives than, what about the market? So that way you don't have to be subject to worrying about what the day-to-day noise of the market is. There can be some other strategies that you can implement. But long term, as long as you know what you own and why you own it, the markets in the roller coaster ride of investing, you can kind of get off that roller coaster ride to make it more of a smooth, steady Eddie ride. So that's what I'd say. Still cautiously optimistic, and I think there's some opportunities. So don't be that emotional investor. If you want to hear the rest of the story, we will talk for 90 minutes on this topic again coming up at our economic summit. You can reserve your spot online if you go to America's Retirement Headquarters and click on the events tab. Or if this is the first time maybe watching the video, what I encourage you to do, if you have a question for us on the markets or your finances, feel free to just comment below. And if you comment below, we can make sure that we give you our feedback. And again, if you like the show and maybe this is the first time you're seeing us, I would encourage you to like it so you can stay in the know as we continue on the How to Retire series. Or if you know somebody that might benefit from listening to today's show or getting some feedback, feel free to always share this or any one of our videos or commentary that we have.
Again, previous editions of the show always available online, YouTube, Spotify, Google. And to speak with them in person, to go ahead and set up a time, you can always give a call, 419-794-3030. It is the spooky season is upon us, and if the markets have been spooking you recently, it's not necessarily an abnormal thing, the market volatility that we're seeing right now, but it may say a lot about your risk tolerance, especially as you get closer and closer to retirement. So to maybe scale some of that back, I don't think Nolan is advocating necessarily taking your money out of the market and tucking it away in a mattress and have 5 years of money under your mattress, but figuring out more conservative means where you can preserve what you have in the event of a market downturn to be able to weather those storms whenever they may come. If you need help with that discipline, again, pick up the phone, give a call, schedule a time, 419-794-3030, or go online to americasretirementheadquarters.com. Retirees are actually getting hit by a double whammy of soaring inflation and low interest rates, which is raising the cost of living while plans heavy with safer investments, well, they're not earning much from interest. It's forcing people to dip into emergency cash if they still have some and drawing down more money from retirement accounts than planned. Guys, what is the game plan when it comes to softening the blow that inflation brings with it? Is it in search of better return? Is it too risky to go deeper in stocks and other investments like real estate maybe?
Well, for a lot of us, inflation has not been a big issue until just this last year. I would say for a lot of us, but that not is necessarily true when we look at, the segment of retirees. In fact, I think inflation's been a big issue for quite some time for retirees. Specifically, Scott, I would say in regards to like healthcare.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that can be for even people that are close to that maybe need to go out on the affordable care and get, quote, affordable care before they reach the age of 65. But we also see that with the changes in Medicare. I do think that there's some important deadlines. Of course, we'll talk more about this in the second segment. But, what would you say about rising inflation and rising costs for healthcare, Scott?
Well, the rising inflation cost is really impacting healthcare. The cost of the day-to-day, just going to the doctor. All of the prices are going up, and like Nolan said, coming up in the second segment when we talk a little bit more about Medicare, there's things on the horizon for the cost of all of the original Medicare different segments are going up as well. Prescriptions are going up. It's very volatile right now, and when you look at Obamacare, I'm not real sure exactly what's going to happen there. The open enrollment starts November 1st for that, the marketplace, so to speak, and we haven't really seen what they're going to throw at us when it comes to the new rates, the new out-of-pockets, the new thresholds for the premium tax credits. So I'm anxiously waiting for that. With the inflation costs the way they are, I anticipate some much higher out-of-pocket expenses for a lot of people that actually qualify. So, we always talk about the reportable income. It's important to remember the reportable income for Obamacare or for the marketplace is, the Roth IRAs are not, at this time, are not reportable income. So if you want to really take advantage of the premium tax credits that you might be, available to you, one way to do that is to make sure that you get your reportable income, I hate to say it, but as low as possible.
Yeah, it's a matter of planning, just like anything else, and it's a matter of knowing, how to navigate those rules that are out there. I do think of a great example of a couple that were in recently, and he's getting ready to retire in January, and I said, hey, we need to be a little bit proactive, maybe get some of the money out of the countable retirement accounts, be able to position them in a place where you can get, quote, affordable health care between, when you retire at 62 and 65, so that 3-year bucket of money. And being able to be proactive versus waiting till January, and now it's already in that tax season year. So if anybody's looking to retire next year, again before the age of 65, I encourage you to talk to us about developing a plan to make sure that we can keep your health insurance cost affordable. And of course, there are those deadlines that are coming up just shortly for those people who are over the age 65. Looking at your Medicare and your Medicare supplemental plans and what changes that you have. And then I would also say briefly, I touched a bit about it, is if inflation is feeling a little bit of a pinch, no matter what age it is, it's a matter of going through and doing an analysis, I think, of all of your accounts to figure out how to make sure that your money gets up and works as hard as possible. The example that I used a few minutes ago is called dead money. So we've also oftentimes referred to it as lazy assets. So if you have some money, maybe excess balances and checking and savings, maybe there's some ways that you can look to other alternatives. One of the things that we sometimes do for folks is we use what I would refer to as more liquid life insurance that has the potential to get higher returns. Also, of course, it's life insurance, so it provides more money than money that's just sitting in the bank. Provides more benefits in the event that it can help provide a legacy if, God forbid, somebody passes away prematurely. Some of the policies include critical, chronic, terminal illness, and of course, as I mentioned to start with, it's another way to get that money to earn higher interest. Shopping around for fixed rates. You might be stuck in a low fixed rate, but there could be other alternatives. If you're not going to need that money for a little while, to be able to reposition it into something that could earn higher interest, whether that be another fixed alternative. It could be an individual bond fund. Even within portfolios, a lot of people that are close to or in retirement time, if you're drawing income off of your portfolio, things that we can do and we can look to try to generate some more predictable income is looking at things like the dividends and interest that you earn and being able to kind of increase the yield and cash flow. So, as inflation jumps up like we've seen quite a bit this year, it's important to take a minute before the end of the year and do an analysis and see how we can increase your overall cash flow. And portfolio analysis is absolutely one of my favorite things to do. So, more than happy for anybody, again, if you comment below, anybody who reaches out to the office, I'd be more than happy to, for the first 4 people that reach out to us, provide you some feedback and give you some advice on, ideas to make sure that your money is working harder than the inflation is trying to chomp away at it.
Something else I'll add to that, Nolan, is making your money work for you. If you have the availability of an HSA account, I highly encourage you to maximize your contributions to an HSA account. Those funds and HSA accounts can be used when you do get 65 and into Medicare. You can pay your premiums from that money. It's not going to be dead money even after 65. And for anybody that's 55 years and older, you do have an additional $1,000 you can contribute to the HSA account. So I would encourage anybody to take advantage of that if they have that available to them.
Absolutely. You spent your working career earning that money, working for your money. Now it is time to make that money work for you and work smarter for you. Sit down, speak with America's Retirement Headquarters. Let them show you how it can be done, what moves can be made to keep that dead money from being, in fact, that. Again, have it work smarter for you, especially as we are coming up on the end of the year. There are things that you could do now to really benefit you for 2022 and in the years to come. 419-794-3030 is the number. or you can go online to americasretirementheadquarters.com. Always available there to schedule a time. But what should be on your financial end of your checklist? Well, the answer, that's coming up in just a minute. The Beatles released what many fans consider their best album, Abbey Road, and John Lennon said his favorite song from that album, this one, Something, written and sung by George Harrison. It's the only song that George wrote that the Beatles ever released as a singer. Frank Sinatra actually called this the greatest love song ever written. Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys formula and America's Medicare Associates. 419-794-3030 is the number. It's 419-794-3030 and online, americasretirementheadquarters.com. Here we are. It is already October. December going to be here before you know it. And financial trainer Tim Steffen says it is time to start going over your your end of year financial checklist.
Year end is a great kind of bellwether. It's the time to remind you of everything else that you should be doing at this time of year. So we talk about things like review beneficiary designations on your retirement plans or your life insurance, update your estate plans if there's been a birth or a death in the family, a marriage or a divorce, maybe you move to a new state. So take a look at the estate documents and update those. A lot of those kind of things we talk about this time of year.
So is this something that you guys do? Do you have some sort of year-end review that can help make people sure that they're ready for 2022?
I think it's important. You know, we are definitely a checklist-driven firm. I'd say my experience in the Marine Corps has definitely taught me to follow checklists. And checklists are just a great way to cross the T's and dot the I's, make sure that you get everything taken care of. So, you know, for those of you that are listening today, what I do is encourage you to grab a pen and paper, write these things down, and of course we can help you with them. But number one is you want to do a portfolio review. What you want to do is remember that the markets are constantly changing. You know, equities have done extremely well over the last year. Now may be a great time to kind of get your target allocation back on track. Make sure that your portfolio is lined up with what your goals and your risk tolerance is. If you've had some significant growth within part of the portfolio, you know, that's a great thing, but it also could, you know, increase your risk. And the next thing you want to do is select next year's healthcare benefits. We'll spend more time kind of finishing up talking about that on the show, but, you know, consider all of your available options, including things like what he just mentioned with HSA, flex spending accounts, your life insurance. You want to check those flex spending account balances, see if you can fill them back up. Look at reviewing your 401k and IRA contributions. You want to look at taking your required minimum distributions. You know, last year that, because of COVID, was eliminated. So if you had it on autopilot, maybe this year it's not set up again. So anybody that's, again, over the age 72, take a look at your required minimum distributions. If you don't need your required minimum distribution, don't want that to maybe show up on your taxable income, keep in mind that this is also a year that you could donate that money to a charity. So if you're already supporting a charity through writing checks or taking money out of your checking and savings account, you know, why take the required distribution, have it as taxable income, and then turn around and gift it to a charity when the tax laws allow you to donate directly to the charity? Keeping that income off of your taxes can be a way to, you know, make a bigger bang with your buck. So anybody over the age 72, if you're donating to charity, please talk to me if you're not donating directly from your retirement accounts. You also should consider a Roth conversion. There's a lot of tax law changes that are being proposed through the Biden administration. Before those laws go into effect, again, Roth conversions, the deadline for that is December 31st. For those of you who have non-retirement investment accounts, you want to look at where your tax losses and tax gains are. Make sure that you're positioning your assets to try to minimize what your overall taxation is. And as that, you know, the little clip pointed out, you know, think about life events. So maybe a job change, maybe you added a new grandchild, maybe you've got a new house, maybe there's upcoming surgery or something else that's happened. The question I have is, is your beneficiaries and financial documents up to date? If not, you definitely better check them. So yes, checklists are a great thing to say. And I wanted to drill down a little bit more, Scott, when we talk about the Medicare and the healthcare aspect of it. But before we do that, is there anything else that you would want to add to end of the year checklist?
Well, as you said, the checklists are very important, and I'm a big fan of those as well. But like you said, check your HSA balances, make sure they're still what you think they are, your flexible spending accounts, beneficiaries. One of the greatest things that we have is the Ultimate Estate Planning Guide, which gives you it's a report that we put together that you can put in passwords and account numbers and all of the different things that a survivor may not have any idea about. So those are things that checklists are great. I use them all the time.
As we're coming up on the end of the year, all the news programs and websites and magazines are going to be doing the year that was, kind of that reflection on the year. This is a good time for you to do that as well on a personal level. What changes happen in your life? Also look at what you can do going forward into 2022 and beyond. And, Nolan and Scott just kind of laid out the steps that you could take right there. We blew through it pretty quickly, but if you want them to help you with it, 419-794-3030, get on their calendar, let them walk you through the process and figure out what's going to be best for you going forward into 2022 and beyond. 419-794-3030. Medicare and the annual election period, open enrollment, is a couple weeks away, but we've been seeing the TV commercials and getting those flyers in the mail. Why do they do that so early?
Well, you know what? This is my wheelhouse, and I'm sure people are starting to see Joe Namath again, and
That's right.
Mike Ditka, and all of these guys are coming on talking about annual enrollment and how you can get everything for nothing. And some of that is true, and one of the things I do is I go through all of those things and show you what's not being said. But they do that because now is the proper time and the most important time to make any changes that you may need. Open enrollment, the dates for open enrollment or actual annual enrollment is October 15th. So we've got, 14 more days. October 15th through December 7th. And basically what that is going to allow you to do is make any changes to your original Medicare. So what that means is you can either drop your original Medicare, go back out of your plan that you're in, back to original Medicare, and then make a change from there into a different plan of some sort. So the important things for the dates, remember October 15th through December 7th is your annual enrollment period. That's when you can make a lot of changes. One of the changes you can make is to your prescription plan, your Part D prescription plan. And I do have some information on that just to kind of scratch the surface a little bit. There are changes in 2022. Imagine that, right? The government making changes. There are changes, which there are going to be changes for original Medicare as well. I don't have those changes yet, but for Part D, I do. The $445 standard deductible is going up to $480. Your initial coverage, getting out of the initial coverage into the gap, is going to go from $4,130, that's $4,130 to $4,430. And the catastrophic stage is going to go from $6,550 to $7,050 in 2022. There are some other changes that I go over in my educational meetings that I hold. But that's to scratch the surface on the actual prescription portion of it. So there are a lot of changes coming down the pipe for original Medicare. The other thing is this is the time where you can actually make a change from a Medigap plan to an Advantage plan. And one of the things that I do in our educational meetings is I go over the differences in what's covered under a Medigap plan or a Medicare supplement. It's the same thing, just different names. And we talk about the differences in the two plans, a supplemental or an Advantage plan. There are drastic differences. The one thing I will tell you that a supplemental plan has a lot more freedoms. It does come with a premium, but it also lacks in the Joe Namath telling you that your prescription plan, hearing aid coverage, your dental and vision. You can get that for all low prices, zero. A supplemental policy doesn't have those. So you would have to purchase a standalone prescription plan. But an Advantage plan is what Joe Namath talks about. And that gives you all of those coverages inclusive, and usually it is at a zero premium. But there are out-of-pocket expenses that you need to be aware of. So those are the things that I go over. Those are the things that I help people with. We have educational meetings coming up. I've actually got 2 of them scheduled, one on October 18th and one on October 21st at the BGSU Levis Commons campus. That is actually going to be a Medicare and a Social Security seminar, 2 different seminars all in one date. So we go through a lot of those different changes and a lot of things and the options that you have available to you. It's very important to know these dates, and go through and get a review of what you currently have. You may not make any changes at all. It may be perfectly normal to stay with what you have right now. It may be a great plan for you. But then again, there are other options out there. And my job is to make sure that you know what those options are and to determine whether or not a change is going to benefit you. Because if you drag your feet, don't do anything at all, you're going to miss those dates. And if you miss that date, then you're locked into that plan for the following year. So one of the things that, if you have any questions and anything I mentioned, we can check out on our website. You can look for upcoming videos that we're going to be doing and helping with what each one of the different coverages, how it impacts you and how you can navigate through the Medicare puzzle, so to speak.
Scott, I couldn't help but notice you were talking about the price increases that are going to be coming down the line next year that we already know about.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of ties in with the Social Security COLA, the increase that we're going to
Absolutely.
be getting next year. It's funny how they're going to give you this increase, and it's also, but we're also probably going to be taking it away when it comes to these Medicare premiums. Knowing that, being aware of that is important, and a very important distinction, I think, is when you call America's Medicare Associates, when you want to schedule a time to speak with Scott Kirshner, you're going to do just that. You are going to speak with Scott Kirshner, unlike I don't know any number offhand where you're going to be speaking with Joe Namath or Mike Dicka. I don't think you're going to get in touch with them. They're not even in the Ohio area, but
No,
Scott is, and he can help you with that and walk you through the process. What is best for you going forward and your spouse, and it could be different for 2022. It is worth taking the time, I think, even if you like the plan you have right now, to make sure that it is going to be still the best plan for you going forward into 2022. And that is something that America's Medicare Associates and the Retirement Guys formula can do with you. But you have to take the first step. Give a call, 419-794-3030, or go online, always available online, americasretirementheadquarters.com. We want to thank you so much for joining us this week, as we always do. Really do appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us, spend a little bit of time with us. Hope you found it insightful. Hope you have a great week ahead of you. And guys, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with the final word.
Well, I found a good quote this week. We've all heard the saying, time is money. The quote this week is, retirement is the only time in your life where time no longer equals money. Have a great week, everybody. We look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same place, and enjoy your week.